Ciao ragazzi, in this lesson today, lezione asincrona numero 13, we're going to continue with the strutture sections of our Capitolo 4 in Avanti Connect book. And we are going to start by learning some more irregular verbs. And here we have two verbs that we already know that are irregular. Fare, which we did a couple of weeks ago, and avere, which is to have, that we've been doing since the beginning of our lessons, together with the verb essere, to be, avere, to have. So we are going to fill in the empty fields here for the verb fare and avere, and then we're going to explore the pattern that results amongst all of these verbs in relation to their subject pronoun. Their io form, the tu, lui, lei, noi, voi, and loro, okay? Remember, every time I say subject pronoun, I mean the forms that we use to conjugate the verbs. So let's bring up la lavagna and a chart. Ecco. So here you can see the subject pronouns are missing, but we know the order already. Io, tu, lui, lei, noi, voi, and loro. So the verb fare, we're going to do the verb fare now, and then the verb avere. Just an aside, remember the verb fare, to make, to do, is used in Italian in many different ways. It's a very versatile verb, and I'm going to bring some examples here just as an aside before we start conjugating the verb. For example, this is a little dialogue between two people. Ti faccio una domanda. Faccio from the verb fare. Io faccio una domanda. I'll ask you a question. Che fai sabato? What are you doing Saturday? Okay, so we're already using to ask a question and to ask, what do you do? What are you going to do on Saturday, sabato? And the person responds, faccio colazione. I have breakfast. Poi, faccio la spesa. Poi means then, and after, faccio la spesa. I do the shopping. So already you see how many different ways you use the verb fare. To talk about the weather, fa caldo, fa freddo, which is cold. Fa caldo, it's too hot. It's hot. Fa freddo, it's cold. Okay. To make a photograph, per fare delle foto. Mi piace uscire, he says. Mi piace uscire. We know that verb. I like to go out. From the verb uscire, and piace from piacere. Mi piace uscire. That's what he's going to do on Saturday. Per fare delle foto. To take some photos. And so on. So as you can see here, he says, she asks, fai pulizia in casa? Do you clean the house? From the verb fare. Fare una festa. To have a party. Fare un errore, to make a mistake. Okay, so that's a little aside, but we're going to go back to our chart here. Okay, so fare, io faccio, tu fai, tu fai, Opa. Here we have the wheel. Okay, tu fai. I have to have this computer checked because tu fai, lui, lei, fa. Oh, just a second. This is, just bear with me a second. I'm going to pause for a second. Okay, let's continue. I had to reduce the size of the cursor, the puntatore, because oftentimes it's bothersome. Okay, here we go again. Io faccio, tu fai, lui, lei fa, noi facciamo, voi fate, loro fanno. This is the conjugation for the verb fare. Io faccio, tu fai, lui, lei fa, noi facciamo, voi fate, loro fanno. And the verb avere, which you have used a lot throughout this fall semester, io ho, tu hai, lui, lei ha. And remember, la H, the H in Italian is muta, silent. Lui, lei ha. Come on. Noi abbiamo, voi avete, loro hanno. Okay? Let's read that again. Io ho, tu hai, lui, lei ha, noi abbiamo, voi avete, loro hanno. And now we look at the next three verbs: dare, to give, sapere, to know, and stare, to be in a place. Not to be as in essere, okay? Stare is like, io sto seduto, I'm sitting down. I can also say, io sto bene. We use that verb a lot when we ask, how are you? Come stai? Remember? Okay. So let's read. Io do, I give. Tu dai, lui, lei dà, noi diamo, voi date, loro danno. And the next one, io so, tu sai, lui, lei sa, noi sappiamo, voi sapete, loro sanno. And stare, io sto, tu stai, lui, lei sta, noi stiamo, voi state, loro stanno. Let's look at it for a second now. At the io form. Faccio, ho, do, so, sto. We see a pattern there. We see another pattern here. Fai, hai, dai, sai, stai. And again, we see another pattern here. Fa, a, da, sa, sta. And again, facciamo, abbiamo, diamo, sappiamo, stiamo. Fate, avete, date, sapete, state, fanno, hanno, danno, sanno, stanno. And remember, for the phonetic aspect of the double consonant, you stress that double consonant in Italian, okay? So we see a pattern here in some, especially look at the voi form. It stays exactly the same. And so does the loro. And you can see there's always the double consonant N, fanno, hanno, danno, sanno, stanno. But as I have said many times, we can do these drills over and over again, but if we don't put them into context, into some kind of sentence, we are not really learning how to grasp its meaning and how to use it in context. So for that purpose, we are going to look at some details about these verbs before we do any exercise. And for a second, we are going to go back to our book. Okay. I suggest that before we go back to the book, that you take a screen capture of this chart because you're going to need it. Keep it on your desktop. Okay. On Wednesday, when we do a little exercise together for your final exam. Just a few exercises, nothing to be concerned about, but do make sure that you listen to this lesson and also the one that I posted last week. All right. So, for example, let's look at these verbs. Here are some points to remember about each. When we use the verb dare, is to give, we always use a preposition a. We give to somebody, okay? For example, Mario dà il libro a Sandra. Mario gives the book to Sandra. Diamo i compiti a Marco. We give the homework to Marco. Now, the verb conoscere, to know in Italian, you can do two verbs, conoscere and sapere. Let's look at what the differences are. Use conoscere when you know or are acquainted with a person or place. Veronica conosce mio zio. Veronica knows my uncle. Conosciamo bene la città. Io conosco bene Firenze. Io conosco bene la tua moglie, your wife, for example. Okay. Sapere when you know a fact or have knowledge of a situation. Gina sa, from the verb sapere, chi è il primo ministro italiano. Gina knows who the Italian prime minister is. Sappiamo, from the noi form of the verb sapere, noi sappiamo dov'è il ristorante Stella. I know something for a fact. I know where the restaurant is. The Stella restaurant is. And also sapere is used plus the infinitive form of a verb to indicate something that you know how to do. For example, mio padre sa suonare il violino. Sa from the verb sapere. Mio padre, it's sa suonare il violino. Suonare is the indicative form of the verb to play. Okay, so mio padre sa suonare il violino. Io so suonare il pianoforte. I know how to play the piano. So we have learned the most common use of stare, as in the question, come stai? Stare can also mean to stay, to remain. Esci stasera? Do you go out this evening? Esci from the verb uscire that we have studied. No, sto a casa. Sto a casa. I mean, I remain at home. Dire, oh, is that verb that I just skipped, is here. Dire is to say. And it's in irregular form. Look, dire, this is the infinitive. Io dico, tu dici, lui, lei dice, noi diciamo, voi dite, loro dicono, okay? And take a screenshot of this conjugation here too. I'm also gonna do it so that on Wednesday we have all our charts. Let's look at how we use the verb dire. Dire means to say, to tell. It is used to report what others say. Federico dice, non voglio venire. Federico says, I don't want to come. Antonella dice di no, mentre Fiona dice di sì. Antonella says no, while Fiona says yes. Dire shouldn't be confused with the verb parlare, which means to speak, to talk, okay? So, dire, to say, to tell. Parlare, to speak, to talk. Parlo italiano, tu parli inglese, parlo con mia madre, tu parli con il tuo amico. With your friend, you talk to your friend. Okay, let's put some of these verbs to context in some form or other here. I'm going to put the lavagna next door to it. Ecco. I just want to make sure that I'm recording, just in case. There's nothing worse than having to repeat something that you've done. Okay, let's look at here. Here we have to use il verbo appropriato, the correct appropriate verb. So we have two choices. Opzione A, opzione B. Let's look at numero uno. Paolo non blank alla festa. Remember, esce is from the verb uscire. Io esco, tu esci. So Paolo is in the to form. And va is from the verb andare. Io vado, tu vai, lui, lei, va. Paolo is in the lui form. That means the third person singular. Io esco, tu esci, lui, lei, esce. Okay, let me put some here. Lui, lei. So lui non alla festa. Paolo non. So uscire is to exit, to go out of a place. But this preposition alla means to the. This is something that you have not done yet. This type of prepositions, but that's not the point of this numero uno exercise. But it's just to choose whether he is exiting from the party or going to the party or not going to the party. So Paolo non va alla festa is the correct form. Quindi numero uno. Paolo non va alla festa. So if you were to use the verb uscire, you could say Paolo non esce dalla festa. But this is a little addition I'm giving you. Paolo non esce dalla festa. Alla festa, to the party. Dalla festa, from the party. So he's not exiting. He's not going out from the party. Dalla festa, okay? That's a little aside here. Let's look at numero 2. Io e Marcello, molte persone, and the two choices are conosciamo, from the verb conoscere, and sappiamo, from the verb to know. So let's look at those two differences here. Conoscere, when you know or are acquainted with a person or place, and sapere, when you know a fact or have a knowledge of a situation. So here we would use conoscere. Io e Marcello conosciamo molte persone. Noi conosciamo molte persone, okay? Let me write that down. Io e Marcello conosciamo molte persone. And you repeat everything I say, you repeat, because it's by repetition that things sink in, and also for the purpose of phonetics. Molte persone, many people. Io e Marcello conosciamo molte persone. Io e Abdul giochiamo a tennis da 3 ore. Again, this is also in the noi form. Io e Abdul giochiamo a tennis da 3 ore. Sete means thirst. Here we have two choices. Siamo from the verb essere, and abbiamo from a verb avere. And in English we say, I'm thirsty. We use the verb essere. But in Italian we use the verb have. Abbiamo. Io e Abdul giochiamo a tennis da 3 ore. Abbiamo sete is the correct form. Noi abbiamo sete, because io and Abdul is in the noi form. I'm just going to put abbiamo sete. Okay. Numero 4. Ciao ragazze, dove? Dove is where? One of the interrogative forms that we studied last week. Where? Andate from the verb andare, to go, going, or uscite, to exit. So the most logic form is, hello girls, where are you going? Ciao ragazze, dove andate? And always pay attention to the subject pronoun that you need, because the subject pronoun is going to tell you what conjugation of the verb you need to put in place. Numero 5. Mio fratello giocare bene a tennis. Mio fratello is the lui form, lui lei form, okay? Mio fratello conosce giocare bene a tennis. Giocare is to play well tennis. Or mio fratello sa giocare bene a tennis. Remember when I said that io so suonare bene il pianoforte, I was using the verb sapere. So here again, we would use the verb sapere. Mio fratello sa giocare bene a tennis. Okay. Numero 6. Tu e Fatima, that's the voi form, because it's tu e Fatima, voi. I capelli biondi. Capelli biondi means blonde hair. So you and Fatima have blonde hair. So here we use the same verb. Tu e Fatima avete i capelli biondi. And tu e Fatima is the voi form. Numero 7. Okay, we've done this before, how we tell our age or somebody's age. Mariella, solo 19 anni. Mariella, only 19 years old. So, Mariella ha solo 19 anni. We use the verb avere instead of the verb essere. Mariella ha solo 19 anni. Ok? Numero 8. I miei genitori, un buon ristorante in via Piemonte. So, my parents, a good restaurant in Piemonte Street, via Piemonte. So, loro sanno o loro conoscono? I miei genitori is loro, the loro form. I miei genitori sanno un buon ristorante in via Piemonte o conoscono un buon ristorante in via Piemonte. Let's look at the difference between sapere and conoscere. Let's review that before we continue. Okay. You use sapere when you know or are acquainted with a person or place. And you, you use conoscere when you know or are acquainted with a person or place. And you use sapere when you know a fact or have a knowledge of a situation. So in the case of the ristorante in via Piemonte, they know or are acquainted with the place. So we use the verb conoscere in the loro form, I miei genitori. Let's look at it. And that was Numero 8. I miei genitori conoscono un buon ristorante in via Piemonte. Numero 9. Maurizio non, perché Gino non parla a Sergio. Maurizio non, this is a negative sentence, blank. Why? Perché we studied that last week, the interrogatives. Why Gino does not speak to Sergio? So, again, we have the same distinction between the verb sapere or conosci. Is this a situation or is this a place or somebody? It looks like it is a situation. So we would use the verb sapere. Maurizio non sa perché Gino non parla a Sergio. Perché Gino non parla a Sergio. Numero 10. Andiamo in piscina perché blank bel tempo. Andiamo from the verb andare and it's the noi form. Noi andiamo in piscina, to the swimming pool, perché, because, in this case, because, bel tempo. And this is a good example of that very versatile verb, fare, fa bel tempo. Fa bel tempo. That's the expression, fa bel tempo, fa caldo, it's hot, fa freddo. Faccio la doccia, I'm taking a shower. That's another example. So we are in number 10. Andiamo in piscina perché fa bel tempo. Okay? God, this auto formatting is driving me crazy. Numero 11. Sandra al telefono con la sua amica. Sandra is at the phone with her friend. So, Sandra parla al telefono con la sua amica o Sandra dice al telefono con la sua amica. Let's review that distinction too, because we talked about it before. Between parlare and dire. Dire means to say, to tell. Is she saying or telling something to Sandra? Maybe, but is she talking to Sandra? It sounds like she's talking to Sandra, so we use the verb parlare. So the answer would be Sandra parla al telefono con la sua amica. And Sandra is the lei form. Lei parla al telefono con la sua amica. So we wouldn't say Sandra dice al telefono con la sua amica, because then we would say Sandra says at the phone with her friend. So Sandra parla al telefono. Numero 12. Filippo, again, this is the lui-lei form. Filippo il suo libro a Sofia. Il suo libro a Sofia. Filippo il suo libro a Sofia. So Filippo is giving his book to Sofia. So I is from the verb avere. So we wouldn't use the verb avere here because it doesn't make sense. So it would be the verb dare, to give. And notice how it has an accent on the lui-lei form, lui-lei da, because without an accent it's in a preposition. Just a little detail here. So Filippo dà il suo libro a Sofia. So as you can see, in this exercise, you can see, for example, that the prompt here is already telling you which subject pronoun is in context. And the answers are always in agreement with that subject pronoun. Io e Marcello is noi, so io e Marcello conosciamo, noi conosciamo, and so on. For every prompt, mio fratello is the lui, lei form. Sa giocare bene a tennis. Lui, lei sa. So next, as we move on, we are going to do another little exercise where we are going to spot what subject pronoun the rest of the prompt is giving us, because in that way you will be able to identify when to use the correct subject pronoun to the conjugation of the verb that is in agreement. Okay, let's now continue. Let's share the screen again. Okay, il soggetto del verbo, the subject pronoun of the verb. There's a peculiarity in Italian language that not always you need to use the subject pronoun when you are talking about somebody or a group of people. So you use it if you want to emphasize a detail of what you're talking about, if you want to express a contrast or emphasis. So remember when we talked about our family members, that we said, for example, mia madre, my mother, not la mia madre. We didn't have to use an article there. So the same thing is going to be happening in this little drill that we're going to do here. We're going to identify where the sentence is demanding the subject pronoun to express a contrast or emphasis, okay? So, numero uno, Pietro si è perso. Perso is from the verb perdere, to lose. So he got lost. Pietro si è perso. Blank, non sa dov'è il ristorante. So do I need to say the subject pronoun lui? Pietro si è perso. Lui non sa dov'è il ristorante. Lui non sa dov'è il ristorante, because I want to make emphasis. He doesn't know where the restaurant is. A Natale, blank, faccio un regalo. Remember, we can say io faccio la doccia, io faccio colazione, breakfast, I eat breakfast. Io faccio un regalo. I do a gift, I make a gift to Silvia. A Natale faccio un regalo a Silvia e fai un regalo a Leo. Okay. Faccio is the io form, okay? So, but I don't need to use it here. So, a Natale faccio un regalo a Silvia e fai un regalo a Leo. So, Silvia is also doing a gift to Leo. So we would use the form lei fa, e lei fa un regalo a Leo. Let me write that down so that it's clearer. A Natale faccio un regalo a Silvia e is referring to Silvia now, so it will be lei. E lei fa un regalo a Leo. Okay. Let's look at the next one. Kevin e Sofia sono molto diversi. Diversi is from the adjective diverso, different. So Kevin e Sofia sono molto, a lot, diversi. They are very different. Kevin e Sofia are very different. Lui sta a casa a legge libri. No? Lui sta a casa e legge libri. Invece, instead, esce sempre con gli amici. So we're comparing something here. We're comparing between Kevin and Sofia. Lui sta a casa. There's a mistake here, but lui sta a casa e legge libri. Because lui is the third person singular. Lui legge. Tu leggi, but lui legge. So there's a little mistake here in the book. It's interesting. Lui sta a casa e legge libri. Invece, instead, esce sempre con gli amici. Goes out with friends, okay? So he's comparing what Kevin does. He stays at home all the time, but Sofia goes out with her friends. Here I would have to use lei invece esce sempre con gli amici, because, as it said here, we are trying to express a contrast in this case, okay? And the last one, perché dici sempre bugie? Bugie is lies. Dici is from to say, the verb dire. So that's you. Dici is the you form, the to form. So here we need to emphasize why you are always telling lies. Perché dici sempre bugie? Perché tu dici sempre bugie? Okay, that's the parte prima. And in the parte seconda, we're going to read these two sentences. They are long. There are two verbs. And we have to put here in the empty field a or be the subject pronoun, okay? So let's read the first one. Numero uno. Pietro non vuole venire alla festa. Pietro does not want to come, from the verb venire alla festa, to the party, okay? Ha paura di incontrare la sua ex che viene con il suo nuovo ragazzo. So we see here the A, we have to put, here's the conjugation of the verb, is that io, tu, lui, lei, etc., etc. And the same for the verb venire, viene. Okay, let's read it again. Ha paura. Let's look at our chart, since we had a chart here. But we know that's from the verb avere that we've done and conjugated so many times. Let me put this down. Keep just, take screenshots of your charts in your book. They're always very, very helpful. Let's bring the chart up. So slow. I do have to have it serviced. Anyway, I can also write it down. Ha paura. Paura is afraid, fear. Let's read the context, the meaning of the sentence. Okay, Pietro doesn't want to come to the party. Non vuole venire alla festa. Ha paura, he's afraid, di incontrare, to find or meet, la sua ex, his ex, che viene, who is coming, con il suo nuovo ragazzo, with her new boyfriend, okay? So lui ha paura, because it's Pietro. Pietro is the lui form, ha paura. Lui ha paura. And for the be form, it's talking about ha paura di incontrare la sua ex che viene. Viene, he's talking about the ex, so that would be lei, che viene. That would be the lei form. Let me write that down. Lei che viene con il suo nuovo ragazzo. Il numero 2. Stasera Federico va a ballare con gli amici. This evening Federico is going to dance, va, from the verb andare, a ballare, to dance, con gli amici. Mentre, while, il suo compagno di casa, his roommate, compagno di casa, Luigi, sta a casa perché ha la febbre. So, Luigi sta a casa perché ha la febbre. He is going to stay at home because he has the fever, la febbre. While his roommate, Luigi, sta a casa, remains at home, perché, because ha la febbre, has the fever. È molto triste perché gli piace stare in compagnia. Chi è molto triste? Federico. È molto triste perché gli piace stare in compagnia. He is very, very sad because he likes to have company. Stare in compagnia means to have company. So let's look at this very, very long. Stasera Federico va a ballare con gli amici, mentre il suo compagno di casa, Luigi, sta a casa perché ha la febbre. Again, talking about lui. Lui ha la febbre. Chi ha la febbre? Lui ha la febbre. That would be the lui form. Ok. Lui ha la febbre. That would be here on the field A. È molto triste perché gli piace stare in compagnia. He is very sad because he likes to have company. Again, that would be lui. Lui è molto triste perché gli piace stare in compagnia. A lui piace stare in compagnia. Interesting, these are all lui, lui, lui. Let's see if there's something different here. This is a very long one. Miranda va in montagna con le amiche. Miranda goes to the mountain with her friends, ma non sa sciare, from the verb sapere. Sciare is to ski. She doesn't know how to ski. So I would be, from the verb sapere, is lei. Lei non sa. Lei non sa sciare. Let's write that down. Lei non sa sciare. She doesn't know how to ski. Fa 2 lezioni con un istruttore di sci. So, fa 2, fare, from the verb fare. Fa 2, she does 2 lessons with an instructor of skiing, ma non riesce. Riuscire is to manage, ok? Comunque, a sciare con le amiche, che fanno piste molto difficili. So this is a very long. Fa again would be the lei form. Lei fa 2 lezioni con un istruttore di sci, ma non riesce. Lei non riesce. Comunque, in any case, she doesn't manage, in any case, to ski with her friends, a sciare con gli amici, che fanno piste molto difficili. So she can't, even if she takes 2 lessons of ski with an instructor, she doesn't manage in any case to ski with her friends who do very difficult ski ramps or ski slopes. Okay, here we have fanno, che fanno, that is the loro form. Fanno, remember. Let's see if the chart came here. The verb fare is the loro form. Loro fanno, molte piste difficili. Loro, sorry. Loro hanno molte piste difficili. Okay, so make sure that you take a screenshot of this chart or you make it on your own. Keep it at your side on your desktop or on paper. It's always useful to have these charts next to you when you're doing, oh, look at this, how pretty. And all this stuff that came up. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to the next struttura. And I'm going to pause for a second. Okay. So we are going to finish our lesson today learning how to compare something to something else or somebody to somebody else, okay? As in, for example, John is taller than Mary, or Mary is not tall as John. So in Italian, we use più or meno. Più is more and meno is less. Then we add our adjective and we add di or che, depending on whether we're talking about somebody or something else or something, somebody or something, okay? Let's see how this chart works, this formula here works. Let's look at some examples here. Lucia è più sportiva di Silvio. Lucia è più sportiva di Silvio. Lucia is more sporty than Silvio. So we have Lucia è più, then we have our adjective sportiva, and then di Silvio, okay? Let's look at the next example. Silvio è più studioso di Lucia. Silvio is more studies more studious than Lucia, okay? Again, we have the same formula. Silvio è più, then we have our adjective studioso di Lucia, okay? And again, look, for example, that the adjective is in agreement with the subject pronoun, or if it's a noun, would be in agreement too. And again, sportiva is in agreement with Lucia because Lucia is femminile, sportiva is an adjective in the femminile form. And again, Silvio è più studioso di Lucia. Studioso is in agreement with Silvio perché Silvio è maschile. Okay? Let's look at another example. Aurelia e Maria sono più creative di Salvatore. So Aurelia and Maria are more creative than Salvatore. And again, Aurelia e Maria, it's loro sono più creative. Creative is in agreement with Aurelia and Maria because creative is plural femminile and Aurelia and Maria are plural femminile. Aurelia is a girl's name and so is Maria. So it is in agreement. And again, we have the same formula here. Aurelia e Maria sono più creative, adjective, di Salvatore. Let's look at the following example. Aurelia e Ahmed sono più avventurosi di Maria. Aurelia e Ahmed is plural form, is a girl and a boy, are more adventurous than Maria. Aurelia e Ahmed are more adventurous than Maria. Aurelia e Ahmed sono più avventurosi di Maria. And because we here have plural femminile, plural, the subject pronoun of the sentence is plural because we have a girl and a boy. So the adjective has to be in agreement. And when we have both genders, we use the maschile form of the adjective that ends in I, okay? Aurelia e Ahmed sono più avventurosi di Maria. Okay, let's look at the chart. Aurelia e Ahmed sono più avventurosi, is our adjective, di Maria. Okay? So it is a very, very simple structure. You have più or meno, you add your adjective, and then you add to whom you're comparing. One person to another or one thing to another, okay? And to finish our lesson, we are going to watch a 5-minute grammar tutorial, okay? I'm gonna make sure that I make it on big screen so that it will be better for you. Okay.
The comparative, più di and meno di. Elise and Sara are planning a trip to Milano, where they will see Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper and the cathedral. And Sara has another great idea. Prendiamo il treno o l'aereo?
Shall we take the train or the aeroplane? From the verb prendere, to take, in the noi form prendiamo.
L'aereo è più veloce, ma il treno è meno costoso. Facciamo un po' di shopping o facciamo le turiste? Facciamo le turiste, è più interessante. Andiamo a Santa Maria delle Grazie a vedere l'ultima cena o facciamo una passeggiata al Duomo? Tutte e due. Ti piace fare kayak? Kayak? A Milano? No, cosa dici? Sul lago di Como, vicino a Milano. You have probably noticed that più is the equivalent of more in English, and meno is the equivalent of less. When making a comparison between people, places, things, or activities, it is important to pay attention to word order and the use of the equivalent of English than, which is di.
Un viaggio in aereo è più veloce di un viaggio in treno.
Okay. Un viaggio in aereo è più veloce di un viaggio in treno. So we have here our noun, or what we're comparing something to something else. We're comparing a trip on an aeroplane to a trip on a train, and obviously it's faster, è più veloce di un viaggio in treno.
Un biglietto del treno è meno costoso di un biglietto aereo. Una giornata di shopping è meno interessante di una visita al museo. Un'escursione sul lago è più tranquilla di una passeggiata in città.
Ok, un biglietto del treno, a train ticket, è meno costoso di un biglietto aereo. Ok, like we saw in the chart, we use più to compare something bigger to something else, and meno, something smaller, to something else. Più is more and meno is less. Ok, una giornata di shopping è meno interessante di una visita al museo. So a shopping spree, a shopping day, giornata, it's less interesting than a visit to the museum. Meno interessante di un'escursione sul lago, an excursion to the lake, e più tranquilla di una passeggiata in città. An excursion to the lake is more tranquilla, means quiet, calm, than a stroll in the city, una passeggiata in città. Okay, so you can see the formula. Più your adjective plus D. Meno your adjective plus D.
What do you notice about the position of più, meno, and di with respect to the adjective? Più or meno precede the adjective, and di follows it. Now look at the sentences again, and let's focus on the adjective. Which noun does the adjective agree with? The adjective agrees with the gender and number of the preceding noun, or the subject of the sentence.
Ora tocca a te.
You are going to make comparisons by putting the words in order. Your challenge is to complete your sentence before the correct answer appears.
Okay, let's look at this. Milano è grande più di Firenze. Well, you have to know that Milano is much, much bigger than Florence. So what would you do here? Milano è più grande di Firenze. Milano è più grande di Firenze. So we have our noun here, è più, then we put our adjective here, grande, and then di Firenze. Let's see. Because that's going to be the pattern for all of these examples.
If you said, Milano è più grande di Firenze.
Perfetto!
Okay, let's look at this. The measuring height. Obviously, his name is Paolo, and her name is Elise. And obviously, Paolo is taller. Let's see how we put this together. Okay, and we know that our formula is più adjective di. So it would be Paolo è più alto. Più goes here, alto goes there, and di goes here. Paolo è più alto di Elise. Let's look at it.
If you said,
Paolo è più alto di Elise.
fantastico!
If you said, Jacob è meno studioso di Sara. Favoloso!
Let's look at this one. Elise e Jacob. So avventurosa, femminile, so it's referring to her. And assume this is Jacob, who is more adventurous. So it would be, let's see what it said. No. Elise è meno, because the adjective is referring to her, and she looks like she is less adventurous than Jacob. So it's Elise è meno avventurosa di Jacob. Okay.
If you said,
Elise è meno avventurosa di Jacob.
esatto!
On their way back to Florence from Milan, Sarah asks Elise her impressions. Allora, quale città preferisci? Milano o Firenze?
Beh, Milano è più cosmopolita di Firenze, ma Firenze è meno caotica di Milano.
Okay, here you have an example where you're using both forms of comparing, more than and less than. Secondo me, Firenze è più bella. Oh, no, un attimo. You went. Let me go here. Backtrack again.
Milano è
Ok. Milano è più cosmopolita di Firenze. Milan is more cosmopolitan than Florence. ma Firenze è meno caotica di Milano. Florence is less chaotic than Milan. Here again you have più, your adjective, and di. And here again you have meno, your adjective, and di. Okay, let's read that again together. Milano è più cosmopolita di Firenze, ma Firenze è meno caotica di Milano.
È più cosmopolita di Firenze, ma Firenze è meno caotica di Milano. Secondo me Firenze è più bella e fare kayak sul lago di Como è divertentissimo.
Firenze è più bella, so she's not doing a comparison, she's saying she's tacit the comparison because it's already been stated, so she says Firenze è più bella, Firenze is more beautiful.
Elise ha capito tutto. E tu? Alla prossima!
Ok, io spero che voi abbiate capito tutto. Allora, alla prossima. Ciao ragazzi, ciao.